Coach Kevin McMillan on the program with us here. Skyhawk Talk continues from Snappy Tomato Pizza. Coach, your first appearance on the show this year. How are you?
I'm very good. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. Last time I saw you, where were we? Iowa?
Iowa.
Yeah,
we were in Iowa.
Enjoyed the trip, enjoyed the run, and now the season is upon us again.
I tell the girls all the time, you're going to blink, and this is going to be here, and then you're going to blink, and that's going to be here. And I told them in the summer they were going to blink, and the season would be here, and here we are. So.
You have several players and personnel that have been with you through the run of 4 years or 3 years going to the NCAA tournament and then going into this year. Heather and Jasmine hitting their senior seasons this year.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting / sad for all of us to see. We've got a core group of 4 seniors. Tabitha Causey's a manager that's been with us for 4 years behind the scenes, and Megan White has been hurt some and healthy, and she's a senior, and then Jasmine and Heather are our other 2 seniors. So we've got we're going to sorely miss these 4 when graduation hits.
I remember standing beside you at a practice and said, "Now that's Butler, right?" And you said, "Yeah, she could be special, Chris." Well, who's the other one? Well, that's Jasmine. You're going to like her too.
We talked about. Who would have ever thought that these guys would have done what they've done?
Yeah.
If I had predicted, if we read their resumes right now and we'd predicted this 3 years ago, people would have said you're crazy. All-American. The All-American team, mid-major All-Americans, Wade Trophy watch list, Players of the Year. It's just been unbelievable what these guys have done, and that group of 4 seniors to have 3 NCAA tournaments and a chance to win another one. It's just, it's just beyond, comprehension.
And here's where I want to compliment you and them. I remember after that first year of the run, I guess Duke was the opponent the first year in the NCAA tournament. We did a Skyhawk Talk after that, and I thought this and asked you, can they get better? Can we be better? And they did. They improved, and we improved as a team.
I thought probably if you look at our 4 years here, probably our best year was year before last as a team, and I think most of that is because we had everybody was back.
Yeah,
and so they all knew what we were doing. Everybody was on the same page, and I think we underestimate sometimes the importance of experience
and chemistry.
And I think that's a challenge this year, but it's been a challenge every year, and I think that's also a tribute to Butler and Newsom and Megan White, is that no matter what we've put out there with them, they figured out a way to win anyway. And you wish that you could have figured out earlier, but that has been such a positive for them, and hopefully this year I think we've got another good strong bunch with them, but again we don't have that experience.
It has to be easier to recruit with the success you've had in the last 3 years.
Yes, it's different. We have been on the radar of quote higher profile recruits. You got to remember, Jasmine and Butler combined had 5 scholarship offers combined between the 2 of them. And most kids today have got 5 or 6 or 7. It's just so different. Yeah, it's just crazy. And we're now we're recruiting kids that are, ESPN top 25 in the country, and they'll actually talk with us. Whereas before it was not even anything. So,
they go, "You to who?"
Yeah, but I think the whole key, Chris, is going to be. Let's talk about best case scenario. If you go back to the NCAA tournament this year, and then you go back next year, recruiting should get easier now, because now you can't look at it and say, well, they did it because of this group.
Right.
It's been forever. So now you're going, okay, now we think that there's something here. And if people only knew, sorry, Weatherly, our first year, sorry, Couples, sorry, Glisson, if they only knew what that bunch had achieved in that first year, that probably was better than what the last 3 teams have done.
I agree.
If you really take what their abilities were and what they did with their abilities, that was probably the most unbelievable group.
I would call. And this is me personally watching you at Westview in Gibson County, and then when you that's the most amazing coaching job you did.
Well, I appreciate that.
And most challenging and the most successful.
And if I was dead honest about it, I would probably say that that was a losing record, and it was probably the most satisfying I've ever had as a coach. Was because kids absolutely sold out to each other, and it was so much fun being around them.
And how many players? What was the rotation? 7? 6? I mean,
it wasn't 7. When you have it 9, the rotation was 6. I think Paige Smith was the sub.
Okay.
And that was it. Now, we had a couple of games where people get hurt.
Yeah.
And we had to play, we played Coach Haskins' babysitter. And
I remember,
Addie, I'm talking about you.
No, and I remember, and I hate to even admit this, and I never think of this, I think we were playing at Tennessee State, and I just kind of looked at the floor during one of the timeouts and said, we may not win another game this season. Was that the turning point? I would have to go back and look.
I think that Tennessee State was the turning point. Tennessee State's been the turning point for us every single year, but it's always been up there. And I think we got drilled.
Yeah, we got
there.
drilled.
And I
think we had more turnovers than shot attempts, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I think what happened in that one, and kind of, I don't know why you and me get on stuff. I don't know how. But I think that game was the one where they kind of thought they were going to do it their way. And it turned out to be like a 50-point loss, and then after that they were like, okay, we ain't doing that anymore.
Yeah.
So it was good.
And then I remember the flu game, or it was the stomach virus game.
Oh yeah, that was awful too.
The worst memory ever.
Oh yeah.
All right, Coach, we have to talk about this season. We could spend days talking about that year. Let's talk about the supporting cast that's coming in for our Skyhawk fans, players that they will get to know, and hopefully many of them will be here for 4 years and be the new players that continue to lead the way. What are some names we'll hear this year with this team?
Well, I would think, Megan White is the other senior besides the two. Katie Schubert started last year for us and played a ton of minutes and led the conference in three-point percentage. And she's back, and we're expecting a lot of things out of her.
The thing I noticed about her last year, she just didn't make a whole lot of mistakes.
She doesn't make any mistakes. Yeah. There's a stat sheet that we get from a computer program, and she's just off the charts because she makes hardly any mistakes. And somebody out there, people may not realize, even though she's not doing anything, she's not messing up.
No, she doesn't take bad shots.
No,
she doesn't turn the ball over.
She's getting the ball back into Butler and Newsom's hands and letting them do something with it. And some people, you don't realize that's invaluable, but. Charisma Tyson is a transfer from Little Rock who's eligible to play now. Jordan Johnson is a redshirt freshman that sat out last year who has gotten released just in the last 5 days. And so we're going to see what she can do, and it may take her a while to get her basketball legs back under her. And Cortrice Golden had surgery and is going to be back in late December, early January, and should be doing really well. She's getting in shape. She's doing a lot of things now that are really looking positive for her. But then we got a big group of newcomers, and Chelsea Roberts is one that's we're going to count on to do a lot. She's an Australian, and she's got 3 years here. Jessie Ward is a transfer from Mississippi State from Clarksville, and she's got to sit out this year. But we're looking for her to do some things for us next year. In the post, you've got Tierra Caldwell and Asia Jones, as well as Chelsea Roberts. And those are names you're going to hear. One, because we don't have a lot of depth there. But two, they've got some skills. They really do. Elizabeth Massengill is a former two-time Miss Basketball winner from McMinn Central. And then you've got Tricia Lacey from Ohio, who's a great three-point shooter. And you've got Shay Cross, who's a great athlete coming out of Indiana. So those are some wing kids. So we really don't know, Chris, who we're going to hear from early. So it's going to be an interesting few games as we start to see who can contribute and help us.
That's the weird thing as a coach. You get an idea in practice what their ability is, but when a game starts, it's different.
Yeah, you don't know. Some kids react different in the game situation. Some have to be brought along more slowly, and you just don't know. And the problem for us being a mid-major school is that you need to know now. So we're going to try to learn quicker rather than slower, and maybe these kids can contribute. I mean, we have an idea of what we think they can do, but them actually doing it is a lot different, especially at the level that they've never had to play at before.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal. When you look at your schedule, you're playing some very difficult teams, and to go from a high school where you're and you're playing against competition that's not as good as you to jumping into your schedule, I don't think in a regular person's life you don't have that big of a transition that quickly.
Not in a
I can't even imagine.
10-month, 11-month, 12-month, 8-month period. You go from playing, I
guess if you get married, have triplets, and build a house all in a year.
That probably would. Yeah, that might do it. Yeah. That might do it. But you're talking about in the first week of the season or 2 weeks of the season, we could play, or the first 2 months, of the season, we could play 3 teams ranked the top 25 in the country, and the year before that wasn't even in their radar. So you just don't know how they're going to adjust, and I think we're going to look back at the end, and we're going to go, gosh, if we could go play some of these games again, because I really do think this is the best collection of basketball players that we've ever had here. I just don't. It's the most inexperienced team we've had since our second year.
Yeah.
So we're battling 2 things now. How quickly can we get them experienced and get their basketball IQs to take over? But who knows?
I would love. I'm not going to ask you this, but I would love to ask you: would you rather have less talent and a lot more experience, or a whole lot of talent and less experience? But I'm not going to ask you.
We can talk about that anytime.
You have Georgia State coming in Friday.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 6:00 start. It's at the Elam Center, part of the WNIT. First of all, tell us about your participation in the WNIT to start the season.
Well, really excited about the WNIT. It stretches from this Friday to next Sunday. It's over a 10-day, I think that's 10 days, 10-day period. You could play as many as 4 games. We could literally play from one side of the country to the other in this next week. And we have no idea when, where, how, who, anything. So it's kind of neat that you're in this tournament. There's 16 teams, all from different conferences, and all of them have had postseason experience in the last 2 years. So you're talking about a really good field, and it's the reason it's such a neat tournament is that even though there are some majors in it, Louisville, Oklahoma, LSU, there are also a lot of mid-major teams, and so there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to have NCAA tournaments.
Because of all the conferences, right?
Yes, because you have so many different conferences. So it's really neat. It's an honor for us to get to play in it, and we're thankful to be one of the teams, and to get to host the first round is unbelievable. Yeah. And we've got that coming up at 6. This is a game that's not on the season ticket. Because it's in the WNIT, so it's a $10 get in, and we hope our fans will come out and help us with that, because in order to host, you have to pay the WNIT some money. So we're hoping we can make enough here to keep maybe have another chance to host another game some other time with them. So,
okay.
But I think they were very intrigued by our fan base when they saw how many fans that we've averaged over the last few years.
6:00 start. Come out to the Elam Center Friday night. WNIT, Georgia State. I'm not going to ask you keys of the game now because it's too early. But what's it going to take for us to do well early in the season and against Georgia State?
I think it's just going to be how quickly our kids can understand what we want them to do, so that they don't have to think about it. They're very good when they have understood exactly what they're supposed to do and they can go do it. But when I throw changes at them, they don't handle it real well. Mm-hmm. And you've been with me a long time now, and I like to tweak things very slightly. And when your kids are unsure, a very slight tweak might as well be in another country sometimes. Yeah. So I think it's how quickly we can get on the same page. Can we do some things very vanilla early and still figure out ways to win? It's blind. You don't know what you're getting to going into it. But like we've talked about, it's time to do it. It's time for them to learn in games. Win or lose the first few games, we've got to get these kids learning and figuring out. And there's either 2 options: we're going to figure it out early, or we're going to figure it out late.
Yeah.
If we figure it out early, we've got a chance to really do something special. If we don't figure it out till late, we've still got a chance to do something special. It's just going to be a lot harder.
All right. Thank you, Coach. We'll see you Friday.
Thanks, Chris.
Again, that's at the Elam Center Friday night at 6. We'll come back with Jason James, UT Martin men's basketball coach, on the Skyhawk Sports Network.